You know, ever since I started Little Did I Know, there have been several historical families that I felt like I needed to shine a light on.
So far, I've told you the story of the Drakes, GP and Dorothy Putnam, and the Boyd family, just to name a few. But one name has loomed large for me that I still haven't covered.
You see their name every time you drive down Highway 97 towards Lapine. This is the story of the Vandevert family.
And when I cracked open the memoir of the Vandevert family, written by Grace Vandevert McNellis and Ted Haynes, I realized that I had opened a Pandora's box of things that I didn't know.
So, the Vandeverts. This is a family that bridges a lot of Western myth and that move from true frontier cattle ranching and cattle drives and lack of roads and complete isolation on the frontier where the nearest town is miles and days of riding away through to the modern 20th century and multiple generations. There's duels, there's shootings, there's the loss of cattle, there's massacres, there's the Oregon Trail. This is a family story that has all of those pieces to it.
Borrowing heavily from Grace's memoir, let me attempt to tell you the story of the Vandeverts before they were, well, Vandeverts.
Michael Paulsen van der Voort was one of the early settlers in Dutch New Amsterdam, which later became New York City. Michael owned property in Manhattan that would be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions, today. Wall Street was named after a wall that Michael and the settlers, with the help from Africans, built on Manhattan Island in 1653 to protect the Dutch community from the English.
Which is a pretty amazing coincidence because the Wall Street in Bend is not named after the Wall Street in New York. It too was named after a wall, one that lined Alexander Drake's property right around Drake Park.
Now, the Vandevert that most Central Oregons know of is William Plutarch Vandevert.
William Plutarch Vandevert was born in Cottage Grove in 1854, and he was the son of immigrants who had come over the Oregon Trail multiple times, and so his family had actually come across the Oregon Trail twice. Once in 1851, and then they come back over and they go back and come back in 1853.
William, or Bill, was born in Oregon, but his mother, Grace Clark Vandevert, actually came to Oregon with an 1851 trip across the Oregon Trail.
When the Clark family and about 70 quality horses made their way west, but were ambushed, ironically, by a Shoshone warrior named Has No Horse. He stole all their horses, killed Grace's mother and younger brother, and scarred Grace for life. Grace herself was actually expected to die from her wounds, but recovered and eventually made it to Oregon. In fact, there's a monument here in Pioneer Park in Bend that shows the Clarks were the first European Americans to camp on this site.
So we have Central Oregon ties to New York City before it was New York City. We have horse thievery and a massacre, and we're just getting started. So stay tuned. Meanwhile, I got to get back to reading.
For Central Oregon Daily News, I'm Scott Elmas.